Good evening and welcome to the stream this evening. Really ought to get used to saying welcome to the studio. So welcome to the studio, everybody. Oh dear. That's my play on words, by the way, in case you hadn't realised. Studio, of course, being two things. One is the TV studio, this area here. The second one, of course, is the artist studio. Just a play on words. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay. Counting those, counting how many units were in there. And of course, crystals being heavier than anything else, it wants to lay downwards. So I'm going to need 10 units, 4 rings in each unit, that's 40 rings. So I need 40 tiny rings, and I then need a further 8 to fasten the fasten the fastening onto it. So I need 48 rings. I need to open 48 rings. So there's a big pile. So I'm going to count 48 out to start with, if it doesn't stick to my finger. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, 46, 47, 48. So I'll put these other ones away because I've got 48 out. That'll save me having to count them again later. Because I've got to open 48 now. God blimey, don't escape. I can't afford you to all go escaping. You will have to excuse me. Tell me, guys, those of you who are watching, if my voice is really quiet. If it is, I will boost the microphone a little bit, although that may make the background a bit noisier. But my voice is a little bit underpowered. I am recovering from whatever it is that earlier on this week gave me a sore throat, and then sort of affected my voice. Something sort of relatively mild, but it has sort of impacted my voice quite a bit, and it is somewhat softer and lower powered than normal. And of course, as you can just hear, it occasionally makes me cough. So if I'm going to go into a coughing fit, I will try and mute the mic first. And yes, the microphone is working, so that's good. Right, 48 rings to open. I did. I'm going to put them in there. I'm going to see whether that helps. This is a lid. Well, obviously it's a, well, maybe not obviously a lid, but it's a lid off a Pringles container. And sometimes, for whatever reason, rings start sliding across this desk. I really ought to get some sort of velvet, shall we say, and to do this on, because that way the rings would tend to stay put, but I haven't got any just yet, and I don't want to lose them, and so I'm just thinking if I put them in there, then that might make it a bit easier because they won't slide over the desk. But not altogether sure. And can't use felt. Got to use something like velvet for this, because felt, the rings that catch in the felt, and I'd have a devil's own job with that. Whereas velvet or baize or something like that is actually sort of fibre stuck vertically, a bit like a carpet really, but they don't catch things. It's actually one reason why they're used on card tables, so that people don't accidentally turn cards over. Bet you didn't know that. Neither did I. Mace Gamer, good evening. Welcome to the studio this evening. That's nice of you to drop in. Thank you very much. You've come in at a relatively unexciting point, which is me opening rings prior to trying to join this thin chain to this thicker chain. But I need these rings to make those joins up, so I can either do it very tediously, one ring at a time, and keep putting things down and taking 4 times as long, or I open them all first, and then the actual joining of the two together will go a lot faster. Fear Reaper 7, good evening, welcome to the studio. Nice to see you back, thank you for dropping in tonight. Hopefully my voice isn't too bad microphone wise. If it's a little low, tell me and I'll turn it up. I don't want to talk any louder. It's already sort of I'm already having some effects from it. I mentioned earlier on, but I'm recovering from something that gave me a sore throat and affecting my voice, and it's still affecting it, and I don't want to put a lot of power into my voice, as I have a feeling that if I did that, you won't hear me at all tomorrow. That's good. Your voice is good. Okay, thanks. I did sort of listen to a recording back, but it's always difficult, you have to know, because the various volumes on a PC, where volumes playing out of the app that you're playing the video back on, and your main master volume and any other mixer volumes that are involved, and it can be really difficult to tell just how loud something is or isn't. And since none of the apps really give you a dB reading, you can't objectively measure it either. I know OBS gives one for the noise gate, but it's I wasn't easily able to make sense of it. I used to be able to read dBs quite easily, but for some reason the OBS thing doesn't make sense to me. I'll have to sit down and think about it one of these days. Well, you may or may not be pleased to know, I'm moving closer to the website. I've now narrowed down what will be the shopping section software down to 2, and so now, hopefully tonight I'm going to make a decision on one of those two, and I can get it installed and configured over the next few days, and hopefully be able to launch it shortly, which will be very nice, because like, for the same reason that I do lots of different crafts, once I get bored doing a craft after a while, but it's sort of nice to move on and do something different. My website is being a bit like that with me at the moment. It would be nice to move on and do something different. I'll tell you what, Fear Reaper, I'd like you to see it when he's done. I mean, for three reasons actually. One is it means I've done it, and I hope it's quite good and nice and whatever. The second is I am hoping it will have the I'm intending to launch it with the viewer contribution page, which of course you have an idea what might be on there. And the third one is purely mercantile. I hope you might buy something, which would be really nice, but that's kind of I'm kind of joking about, the last one. I mean, if you saw something you liked and wanted to buy it, then I'd be pleased to sell it, but you know what I mean. There's no point in putting a sales section on the website if you don't hope people are going to buy something. Which, by the way, was, in case anybody wonders, was not the initial reason for streaming, but with streaming and the fact that I'm using a lot of material, relatively speaking, a lot of materials, I'm starting to find out just how expensive streaming is becoming. For me, that is. I mean, some of the game streamers, of course, have expenses as well buying games, I guess, but once the sort of equipment outlay is made, then you don't need cameras and things like that. Mind you, neither do I suppose, but I could do with an extra one. Maybe you will, who knows? Yeah, indeed. Well, I would say, here we go, full advert mode. Things like like these chains do make excellent presents for things like Christmas and birthdays, and when they can be made, or when they are made, especially to order, you can have your own colours. If you preferred green and red, you could have green and red. Actually, that is something I do want to build into the website. That's one of the reasons I spent a bit of time looking at the software. Amongst other things, payment gateways was another one. But I wanted the ability, instead of sort of saying, I've got one, you should get on a lot of websites, I've got one of these, or you can have one of these. I kind of want it to be able to say, okay, you can have one of these, but choose your own colours. So here's a list of colours that you could have, and here's a list of, for like the blue rings, and here's a list of colours for the stretchy rings, and how long would you like it, and a drop down for that, so that you're able to choose for yourself on some of these. Some of them will be kind of like, for the jewellery I'm talking about here, so you might be, well, one of the others, but this is one for sale and you can buy that. But elsewhere will be that you can have something like this and choose your own colour. So it's kind of like two products. But for things like the if I put the punchcraft up for sale, for example, obviously that's one off, and You can't configure that at all. That's just what it is. Actually, a thought just crossed my mind. Yeah, maybe for your future girlfriend. I don't know about for yourself. I mean, it's yeah. There are certain things fellas can get away with wearing if you want to do that sort of thing. Now, I'm not that up on young fashion, if you see what I mean. I'm old, and I'm not in that industry. So, but I mean, things like silver. One for me that I want to do for myself at some point, for example, is a sterling silver version, say, of this. Well, it's all sterling silver, and it'll have a clasp on it. But so it's a sterling silver version of something like that isn't, or this even, isn't out of place, shall we say. Now, sterling silver, of course, isn't cheap. It's expensive. But silver aluminium rings, for example, is not that far different, but obviously somewhat significantly cheaper. But yeah, no, I kind of understand that. Oh, I'm sure you will get one, you know. It happens to lots of people. Yeah, I've done that the right way. Right, so now we're connecting the chain up to the bracelet. I am very close to needing to get out the magnifying glass for this. What I keep thinking about doing, and I was kind of thinking about it more for things like the carving really than this, but the tiny rings on this might prompt it as well. And that is getting something like the sort of thing I'm thinking of, certainly it's called in the UK, it's called Optivisor. It's kind of like, if you're nobody's familiar with it, it's a bit like wearing like a baseball cap without the cap bit. So you've got the band and there's like a drop down flap at the front, and then within that flap it carries a magnifying lens, sort of a fairly wide, two glasses, see through both eyes, magnifying lens. And you can get them with sort of various magnifications. So I could be, sat back like I am doing this, but then with something like an Optivisor, it'd be like I'm looking at it from about half an inch away. You can zoom in that much, which would kind of make doing some of this stuff easier. Oh, they always do, but that's been the that has been the way for as long as I remember Fear Reaper. They start out that way and ultimately change their minds. Oh, a lot of them do. And the ones that do change their minds are the ones that matter. So I kind of wouldn't worry about it. It will happen. That is, unless you're sort of one heck of a creepy guy for some reason, and I'm not suggesting you are, but you know what I mean. I'm just having a bit of fun there. Let me turn this the other way up, and then I can do it that way. And I can get these two rings to line up, and therefore I can yeah, well, you've got to. Hello Kitsuken, good evening, welcome back to the stream this evening. Well, I certainly wouldn't say I'm an expert on it, but oh right, there's no way I'm answering that phone. It's either a wrong number or somebody's trying to get me at work, and I'm not going to answer my work's phone at this time of night. If I could give you a tip, Fear Reaper, don't actively look. Not unless you're talking about something like, I don't know, some of these websites, Tinder or dating websites, things like that. In real life, if it happens, it happens. Don't worry about it. From what I will say, from what I understand, if you actively start trying to look, it doesn't feel very nice to the people that you're looking for. Yeah, well, that's what it is. Go where there's lots of people. I mean, you're university for sake. There's lots of people. You'll meet people there. You'll interact with lots and lots of people. It will happen before you know it. Oh dear. But I'm not that sure I'm the right person to give that sort of advice. I didn't go to university, and I've been married for how many years now? Almost 30. So I am now lost completely what I'm doing with this ring, so I shall take it off and start what I was doing again. Okay. Don't you ever go out on a night? Oh, no, you stay in and watch streams, don't you? I was about to say, don't you ever go out on a night? Yeah, that's kind of what Kitsuken says there is, seems. It's kind of what I would say. Enjoy yourself, have fun, and people get attracted to people having fun and enjoying themselves. If you want to get really into it, it becomes a case of define yourself by yourself, not by who you're with. Is the when you get into psychology and things like that, which I'm not. Okay, that ring's somewhere on the floor. I never did find the one that I lost the other night either. I don't think I've opened this quite enough, but never mind. That's let me just see if I can find this this one ring I just dropped. If not, it's not particularly important. It's straight down there. Oh, I found one from the other night. The one that escaped the other night has been found. See, Phoebe, but that last statement there kind of makes me feel uncomfortable. It kind of feels like almost judging somebody without actually sort of knowing them. You know, I mean, for one thing, you know, as you just pointed out there, you've got a young lady there who is in, you know, is one girl in a class or close to a university full of fellas. That's got to be quite an uncomfortable situation for her, and you know, everybody's going to be, you know, sure, she's probably going to feel that every fella in the place is looking at her, and it's going to be really uncomfortable for her. And no matter how confident she is, she's going to be a little bit uncomfortable with it, and that will potentially come across as being a bit strange. But it's kind of like a defense mechanism, you know. You know, treat her nice. Don't try and, you know, force her to go out with you or anything like that. And you might find she's a very nice, interesting person, and can be a good friend. I'm just making sure I'm got to sit forward a bit, haven't I? Keep this thing on. Keep this thing in shot. Anyway. So, despite all that, if you want any pretty jewellery, you know where to come. Which is where all this started. Oh dear. I haven't quite opened these rings enough, so there's only just, you know, with them being so tiny, the gap, when you're holding them with the pliers, there's not a lot of space left, and it's just a little bit awkward to get the rings on. There we go. Oh, there you go. Well, that's what you call interesting activities. Now, what's happened there? What's happened there? What have I done? I've fed that ring through the wrong way. That's what I've done. So now I've got to find the end of it. There's the end of it. I'm not even sure how on earth I managed to twist that. Never mind, get it through the wrong way. Yeah. That's probably a good idea at that point, Fury, but oh dear. I cannot keep all this. Patience. This is when patience comes in, guys. Those that ask about, do I need patience for this? Things like that, when I kept dropping the ring. Yeah. See, that's the important things, and just yeah. Note to self: drops when agreeing to drop something, drop it. Right. The ring I'd just put in there, somehow I'd sort of made it so it was kind of, instead of going through nice and cleanly, it was kind of forcing this ring to be twisted the other way, so it was trying to fold back on itself, and that's obviously not what I wanted. It needs to be flat. There. I'm quite enjoying working with these little rings. They close really nicely. And sometimes some of the rings are really hard to close seamlessly. Well, these little tiny ones, I'm glad to say, because they'd be a pain in the neck if they weren't. They're closing really nicely. The seam, the cut, virtually disappears. As you've probably seen now when we're trying to open a couple of them, trying to find where the end is difficult. I'm off camera again. Oh dear. I'm guessing you could actually make this bracelet. I've been, something's wrong there. I've been making this this bracelet sort of in vertical, short sections, so across it. I dare say it's possible to actually make it in long strands. Go down one side, come back, and down the other side. But that might be something I try if I make another one of these. I don't have any crystals left to make anymore, so at the moment, so I'm not about to make one this week. But it's just it's just one of the things about experimenting with rings. Trying different construction methods and things like that. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. It's like when I was making these stretchy ones. This one. In theory, it's easy. It would seem easy to make sort of 4 rings and a yellow, which is sort of a half section, and then if you then went and joined the other half section on, trying to put the yellow ones in the right place was a bit fiddly with a cocktail stick, trying to pull them through the loops. So what I tried doing is, because this is symmetrical, sort of 2 yellow, 4 blue, 2 yellow, 4 blue, and then 2 blues joining in the middle, I kind of tried making those two, two separate sections, then joining them with the blue rings. But that was even more fiddly and hard to do than pulling the yellow through. So what seems like it might be an easier way to start with, after a bit of trial of it, you find that the easy ways sometimes aren't what you might think. That wasn't quite... Hey, actually, that's what I was going to try. And this is where the matte idea would be quite useful, because if you've ever watched Mr. Boombati when he's doing his chainmail, and he does it in... he does it sort of jewellery type, not jewellery, armour type chainmail. Some of the things you see, he'll have it on a mat and he'll sort of take a ring like this and just link it under and pull it. He's got the things laid out on the desk and just pulls up like that. And I was about to say, but I haven't got a mat to do it on, because the mat makes it a bit easier, because you can press the ring down into the mat in order to to sort of scoop it under. But then it just worked for me there, doing it without the mat. So I'm just going to try again and just see if that's not working so well for I'm saying it's not working so well for me, and then all of a sudden it just the ring goes through where I wanted it to go. Easier in my hand, I think. So maybe with a mat it might, that technique might work. That's not too bad. Right, oh, my voice is going lower. really amazes me how low my voice can go when I get like a cold or something like that. It's not as bad as it it's not as bad as it can be at the moment, but how can I get... No, I can't really get very low at the moment. It isn't quite going down, but I seem to be able to go at least an octave or two lower than my normal speech. At that time I make Barry White sound like he's singing in soprano. And for those of you who don't know who Barry White is, you can look it up on Google or any other search engine. Fluffy Twiglet, good evening. Nice, welcome to the studio. You've had a blue screen. Blue screens are often video cards. Unless you're running some odd software, that is. Software these days is pretty good about not blue screening, but it does seem that video cards tend to do it, cause it more than anything. Oh, come on. So, I hope you're well today, Fluffy Twiglet. You've had a red screen of death. What? Other than potentially the answer being a different operating system, what's a red screen of death? I've never come across one of those. I'm trying to think what Linux does when the kernel aborts. Because that comes up with a death screen, but I can't think what it is. Faxes were green because you were green screens. Well, sort of green. They were. It did reverse the colour and put black text on green screen. Apart from the graphics terminals, they were white. So I don't know. What's a red one on Vista? Okay, I have never come across that before. Never even heard of it. So the suggestion being it's a hardware fault at that point, I'm guessing. Don't quite how the system, well, I suppose it could now. Makes sense that it's red if it's that urgent to fix as well. Only at Vista. Yeah. I mean, effectively, the blue screen is just a kernel crash. In some ways, it's a blue screen of death isn't really that significant. Becomes a problem when you get lots of them. See, you learn something every time. I now know about a red screen of death. Kind of like do not pass go, do not collect £200. Fix it immediately. Oh dear, it's a sort of a message where you go, yeah, I've had an error, fix it before you reboot me. And it's kind of like, yeah, but what's the error? I'm not telling you, fix it. Right, why do I have so many rings left over? Those of you at the start of the stream know that I counted that there was effectively 10 vertical bands strung together, 10 units. There's 4 little rings joining each unit. Okay, and I can see possibly that I might have undercounted by 1 if my maths is wrong, but that makes 40 little rings. And then there's 4 needed at each end to connect it to the clasp, so that makes 48 rings. I got 48 rings out, counted them, opened them, and so basically, because I'm just now fastening this last unit on, I've got 2 more rings to do, so really I should only have 10 left. I look like I've got more than 10. 2, 4, well, I have got more than 10. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, at least 19 I think. So I'm not quite sure where my counting went. But it went somewhere and it wasn't the right place. Okay, pliers again in the way again. That's why I can't get that ring on there. And now this thing has tied itself. There we go. Sort yourself out. There we go. Okay, last one to join these bits together. And we've got a complete bracelet. Now I'll measure it and see how long it is. So we've got 29 green crystals in this bracelet. So now I want to see how long it is. Let's move all that. There we go. Six and 3/4 inches. It's short. Now then, nope, it won't stretch. So adding the clasp won't add that much to it. I'm going to put the clasp on it and then we'll see, but I think it's short. I think it'll be too short. It'll be just close on 7.5 inches. I'll put the clasp on and then we'll see. Now then, I do have to make sure when I put this clasp on, I put one end that way, and when I do the other side, I've got to make sure I do it that way, otherwise they won't join together. Right, so if this does turn out to be short, what I will have to do is order some more crystals. Got enough rings, but it's the crystals that I'm short of. Ah! This clasp contains a magnet, and containing a magnet, and the pliers being ferromagnetic, the magnet wants to stick to the pliers. But hopefully this is long enough. But if it's not, at least what I am able to do is calculate exactly what I do need, because I can then measure the number of rings and jewels. Can you see the magnet is making it switch back, which is really awkward. That bit about patience, yeah, need it again. Actually, I wonder if putting the clasp over the end of it might not have an impact. Because then I'll have the two poles of the, because each piece has a magnet in it, so the two poles of that magnet might well, yeah, have neutralized. Why didn't I think of that at the start? A little awkward getting in there because of this thing being fixed. It's doesn't bend out the way like the rest of the bracelet does, but we'll get around it. It's still got a slight magnetic effect, but not as much as it was. That's the clasp on one end, and it now holds the chain there quite the end of the chain quite well, so it makes it a bit easier just to open it out, and when I get the other end on, it should be even easier. So I've got to make sure that I do this the right way around. I don't put a twist in it. So I'm going to hold it something like that. You need about 4 hands sometimes. So we'll go through there first and up through there, grab hold of that, and that's easier than doing it on the other side was. Okay, note to self when doing these clasps, do it this way around. And by this way around I mean the clasp on the underneath this set of pliers. It kind of holds it out the way, which is really quite useful. Right, so I want to go through there, up and through there like that. That's it. There then. Next one. 3D blog, good evening. Welcome this evening to my studio. And how are you doing today? Did you? I saw it. Well, I was doing lots of other things last night, so I didn't actually have sound on. But I did see your title, broadcasting without the mic. Were you not feeling very sociable last night? Or have you got mic problems again? It has indeed. I'm just about to finish it, or I'm just about to put the clasp on because I've run out of jewels of the these Swarovski crystals. So either way, I might as well put the fastener on. I don't know if it's long enough. I think I'm going to measure it in a minute, but it's. I was aiming for 8-inch, and think of your own jokes. But I think I've got 7.5. And I've got a fastener that's got a magnet in it. And I've got magnetic tools. I don't think you can get plastic pliers. Well, I suppose you can, but whether there'd be any use in fastening rings, I'm not sure. Right. I suppose if I got sort of like aluminium pliers, they might not be so bad. But there again, mind you, having said that, I was about to say there again, I don't have many magnetic clasps, but it is something I want to get some of and try them out, just see how they are. So, one complete Swarovski crystal chainmail bracelet, complete with solid sterling silver. You got a host of 200 plus. Who hosted you for two? Not that, I didn't mean it that way. Who was the streamer that had 200 viewers that hosted you 3D? So that now comes apart one way or the other, that way, like that. So now we'll measure it and see how long it is. So the ruler's on the desk, as you can see. If I can get hold of this, it wants to form into a tube, so I keep wondering whether or not for this, but whether you could do something like join the ends together. Nah, it doesn't look as good. I was thinking whether you could join the ends together and sort of, you know, with the two sides together with maybe another jewel, so you get like a square, if you like, but I don't know whether I like that. I probably couldn't use the silver ones. You might have to use like green and red perhaps. I don't know. Any thoughts? I mean, you guys out there, any thoughts of what it looks like? Will it look good as a if the ends were sort of, the sides were made into a tube like that. Shane Mad, he's a Dota player. Okay, that really is nice of him, yeah. So you must have had, I missed that, you must have had a really fantastic night last night then. So it is 7.5. 7.5. Okay, it's just a shade on a 7.5. That's about as close as I'd probably get it. I could extend it slightly with adding on a few of these, adding on a few more of these rings onto the end. Like creating a small extension, if you like. I could do that if I need it to, so if it was really important for it to be exactly 7.5, and it still wouldn't be exact because I'd have to add two of those and what are they? 2.7 millimeters. So I'd add 5 millimeters to it. What's 5 millimeters? It's a bit over a tenth of an inch, isn't it? Anyway, 2.5. A tenth of an inch is 2.54 millimeters. So, yeah, it'd be 2/10 of an inch. And 2/10 of an inch would take that just over 7.5. So, yeah, you can't get exact, but we shall see if this fits the special lady later on. Normally she'd wear an 8-inch, but this possibly benefits from being a little bit tighter than normal. I know it's a heavy wrist, but because it being slightly tighter will hold it in better position. Okay, I hadn't thought about that. What, just anywhere in the stream title, 3D? Like where it is at the moment, for example? And does it have to be a hashtag? I mean, I'm assuming, is it actually reading it as a hashtag, or? Okay, I ought to read the blog, shouldn't I? I really ought to read the blog and things like that, and then I'd maybe keep up with some of these things and what have you. Okay, well, I just have done, so you tell me. Let's have a look. Intrigued me now. I've just updated the stream title, so let's go to if I go there, come on Twitch. Okay, right, and I go to creative. Oh, I see, across the top. Interesting. I can't work out what the sort order is. I thought at first they were going to sort alphabetically, but they're not. It must be still picking it up according to how many viewers are on the channel, I guess. Alright. Yeah, that's an interesting sort of thing. I was about to say, is that just a creative thing? But it only makes sense in creative, doesn't it? Because it doesn't really make sense. Oh, it might in music, I suppose, or the other game, the non-gaming ones. So like game development or creative music, I can see it making sense. But in the normal gaming channels, interesting. Well, there we go. I'm using a brand new feature, folks. Yeah, for creative I can see that being really useful. Now then, so I've finished that bracelet. So what I wanted to have a go at next was a couple of other bracelets. I've got these purple rings. Yeah, definitely. And I've got some green rings. And what I wanted to do is I've got this bracelet which is called Wimbledon Wishes, and it's called that because it resembles the colours for the Wimbledon tennis tournament, the purple and green. They're not necessarily an exact match. I have no idea whether they are or not, but I highly doubt it. But I wanted to try making this with actually larger rings, just to see what it looked like. And then I wanted to try making, using the same colours as that, I wanted to try making a sort of a more, the Wimbledon colours of this style of chain. So both of these were half Persians. This one is this one's a 4-in-1. The other one, the Wimbledon Wishes, is a 3-in-1 Persian weave. So I'm going to have a go. Yeah, there's a lot of big changes coming to creative from what you've been told. Okay, are you able to spill the beans then? What are the rumours, perhaps I should say? Right, let me open these two packets. And here's a tip for people. If you've got a scalpel, don't use it to try and prise boxes open. It don't work very well. But what it does do is gives me a sharp edge again because it was blunt. Where do I want to cut this? At the bottom. Actually, before I cut that, I'm just going to put these little tiny rings away. Yeah, you mentioned that the other night, 3D. You saw it in one of the other streamers, because you were you made the interesting comment about Adobe Photoshop and whether everybody that's using it, actually it was your stream, using Adobe Photoshop held an appropriate license to do so. Actually, what surprises me a little bit, talking about Adobe. I'll finally take it. That will be really useful. It's yeah, it's a pity that they were sort of cracking down a little while ago on people streaming creative associated with games in the games channels. Don't like me making that locomotive, for example, cracking down, if you like, on me doing that. They haven't, but in Train Simulator, because that's kind of where the audience would be for a train type of thing. But if they can sort of, and I guess the hashtags will make that a bit easier, then it's pretty, you can't, so well, I suppose you just apply multiple hashtags, can't you? And do things like, Train Simulator or something. What I was going to say, what surprises me, well, the Adobe sort of surprises me because you never you just never saw them really in a social context. But Coral, they've had a quite a strong social type of thing for a longish sort of time, you know, with the painter masters, and the I forgot what the community's called, and what else was I thinking of just then? But they sort of seem to be fair, you know. They put out, I won't say webinars, but they put out a lot of broadcasts with, you know, the painter masters doing things. They did it in conjunction with Wacom as well. So it kind of wouldn't surprise me to see one of those being in this sort of section. And it kind of surprises me in a way that they aren't, because it's just the sort of thing that would, you know, would tie in with their sort of, what seems to be their sort of marketing type thing. Now then, I can open the purple or close the purple, and I do the opposite with the green. And I have no idea if I've got enough here, so we're just going to do it and see. Oh, they've finally done it. If it's related to the game, you can stream in that category. I just guess the only argument then is going to be exactly how related it is. So, yeah, fan art. I can see that being the Danish guy strikes me as being the as well as me potentially being the one that's a bit difficult, unless he's actually copying something in game, which of course he probably doesn't want to do necessarily. But if he's doing sort of, you know, I don't know, things that look like a leather item from the game, or, you know, you know what I'm trying to say, because you don't want to infringe copyright, but which of course the fan art kind of does. And me doing things like trains, I'm not actually going to do a train from Train Simulator, I'm just going to do a train. But yeah, I'm just kind of really surprised that they aren't. That was and I really hadn't thought about it until you sort of mentioned it. You know, mentioned Adobe the other night, because Adobe is really sort of has always sort of been really focused on their professionals, whereas as I say, Corel seems to have been sort of more community. So yes, they support the professionals. But they also were, you know, quite happy to sort of, you know, encourage beginners, shall we say, you know, and at that sort of level. And that was even before they came out with sort of Painter Essentials, which is sort of the cut down version. Right, that's a few. So I've got 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 13. Okay. Issue of nudity is cropped up. Why? Why on earth would nudity crop up? I kind of can't understand why that would be. Or are you just talking about states of dress, shall we say? Oh, I see what you mean. Ah, yeah, the nude model type thing, or the, you know, the cherubs, I guess, or yeah. I must admit that kind of never occurred to me, but it's a starting point for most, not exactly nudity, but an unclothed figure. It's kind of the starting point for most figure drawing, figure painting drawing as well. And sort of sculpting, because that's typically with the way in which you might sculpt. You sculpt a naked figure, and then add clothes to it. Well, that's the way I've seen the sculptors on Twitch doing it. Now I know my next project. What a naked sculpture. Oh, it probably, well, I was going to say it probably would get the views, to be honest. And I have drawn naked figures before. It's an interesting thing to draw. It's the human body. Lots of different shapes and shadows and all sorts of things involved, gestures, and they can be really, really challenging to do. But yeah, well, I did a naked. The dragon was naked. It was not wearing any clothes. And actually, the carving that I was doing, that's one reason why I didn't turn it over. The carving is not wearing any clothes. Yeah, that's true. It is humanoid. That's all right, though, Free, as long as you don't show it afterwards. Two, 4, 6, 8. Yeah, that's right. It's manga itself is it's pretty close sometimes. Or rather, the female characters in manga are pretty close sometimes. Yeah, I suppose the first art stream to use a naked model on stream will get lots of viewers for the short period of time before they get banned. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 11. Let me do 2 more and then I'll weave some of these and then see if I can remember how to start a 3-in-1. That clicking you can hear is the two ends of the ring just catching as I move them past each other. That basically means that they're about as close as they're going to get. Now I have to be really firm in holding these as well, because if they slip, actually one of the things I might try is a little bit of tape on the pliers. If they slip, they're quite likely to scratch, and I mean just slip with the amount of force that's needed on these larger rings. But now then, so all the texts they start with 3 rings on the purple. I'm not reading those texts. Well, I have read those texts, but one of the things I discovered is that one of the rings you never use. It just hangs off the end and gets in the way. So I'm going to kind of see if I can do this, leaving it off. Now I'm going to try and remember how to do it though. So it's like that. So I think I go through there. Yeah, come back. Through those two, turn that over for the moment and put a green ring through there. Now then, it's at this point that this weave falls apart, and it falls apart until you get about another 2 rings in, and then it starts to hold. Okay, so and it's kind of fiddly because they're actually at 90 degrees to each other. They want to be at 90 degrees to each other, but the way the rings lay basically means that they end up sort of being in a V shape, and I want that to go through there, and I want to pick up a green ring there. Now this is at this point, this is where I could lose it altogether. No, I think I've got something wrong there. Have I got something wrong there, or am I just holding these things in the wrong position? So this is the hard bit of starting. Is when the rings sort of just, the whole thing is just sort of collapses on you, and you're trying to work out how these all go together. What matters is that I actually get the next purple ring through the right place. Okay. I think it's those two. I go through that one, and then pick up a green ring. Oh, I'll tell you what. Well, I don't know. I was about to say if we streamers could work out what those of us that are interested in that could work out the answer to that question, then it would make life a lot easier. Have I just completely this tangle of things I have completely lost. I've completely lost the pattern. And unless I can work out and get it back, I will have to take this apart and try again. Oh, probably Fear Reaper, probably. Well, that's what they're probably hoping to get. Now then, what I'm actually doing here may not actually work in this ring size, and that could be part of my problem. But I don't actually see why it shouldn't work in this ring size. So I really am literally just trying to get these rings in such a way that it makes sense. And I've almost done it. There's just one ring there which is wrong, but I can fix that afterwards if necessary. What's wrong with that one? I've kind of got them in position now. No, I haven't. That first, no, I'm going to take them apart. I'm going to start that again. They could be hoping that she'll do that on stream with that sort of inducement. As you say, I don't quite know why, because it ain't going to happen on Twitch. I don't think she's daft enough. I don't know her, by the way. I don't think she's daft enough to do something like that. Maybe the people who are doing the donating frequent the websites where the adult websites where they do pay for things like that. How on earth have I got 3 rings on that? Oh well. That goes through those 2 like that. And I know it will sit that way. And then there'd be a green ring which goes on there and sits down into there. Actually, what I should do is find myself a bit of wire before I put that on. Okay, let me put that one on and see if I can find myself a bit of wire to hold these. I've only got 3 rings on this thing, and that's where's my 3-in-1 bracelet? Can't see it. No, thank you. I too am careful about that sort of information, Fear Reaper. I'm as careful as I can be. Okay, first of all, bit of wire. Have I got a bit of wire? Yeah, for the minute I shall just take a tie wrap off of that. And Oh well, of course there's pictures of me. That's it's kind of unavoidable, is that? But as a streamer, you either make the choice to show your face or not. And the problem kind of is that, well, to put it bluntly, you guys tend not to watch people who don't show their faces. Right, I've got this all messed up again. So it's that ring that wants to be, aha, right, okay, let's split that apart again. Well, I mean, it's an interesting challenge, isn't it? I mean, you might be a registered business, but not necessarily under 3D Block. So yes, it's easy to find a registered business. I mean, almost by definition, as a registered business, you want to be found. So it is kind of you know, sort of expected like that, I guess. But come on, I want that to be, is it that way? No, I think it's, alright, I give up. I'm going to strip this right back. Hardest part about Persian, half Persian at least, is getting started. No, I mean, it doesn't bother me about face cams either. I certainly aren't fussed about watching them. It doesn't make any difference. Okay, I mean, there's coming into view of the stuff that you're doing, or there's one like this. It's pointing straight at me. You know, there is a sort of a distinction, if you like, between that, but I think you know, given the choice, I probably wouldn't bother. But you know, I do know that basically people don't really want to. Don't really want to watch much without the face cam. Now that is as I think it is, I know, but what I'm doing now, guys, is I'm following a diagram. Okay, 3 rings on there. Fasten this up. I'll put my bit of wire through. So it's those 2 there, and that one then comes up that way. because that's the one that causes that purple ring to tip upwards. Okay, so now what I need to do is put that through there, keeping it on stream if I can. So that'll help me keep those two together. Right, so my next ring, my next purple ring, I know goes through. See, I know the sequence of this. The sequence is really easy. You just feed it through the last two rings, and then add a green one. Which I can add on that side. And as long as it holds pattern, like it, that putting that wire on probably was a good idea here. As long as it holds pattern, then you're away basically, like that. Because then it's just a case of it goes through that one, that green one there, and I had another green one in. And I close the rings. You're watching my neck? Are you? You mean when I? Yeah, I can't. What I ought to have is, well, what I ought to do perhaps is have a teleprompter display, but you know, where I can see the camera is actually behind the chat and outside broadcast OBS window. So I can see what's going on, and I can look at the camera, and I could read chat over the top of you. Have I got that the right way, or is it going to be that way? That way, I think. Aye, okay, yeah, Free. It's almost time for your stream. We've got a pussycat somewhere around here. I can hear him. Possibly washing himself. I don't know which one it is though. Don't know whether I'll drop in on your stream tonight, Free. I might put the video on, but not the sound. I want to try and sort my website out if I can. Of course, once I launch the shop on there, I become more visible. Oh dear. Right. And that goes around there. Like that. Yep, that's right. There we go, you see. Once this is the first few loops are in, it's holding itself together. And he says, studying it, because I'm just wondering there whether it actually was. Yeah, it holds itself together. That should be like that. Is that the right way? Yeah, that looks like the right way. And then it becomes, yeah, a relatively simple job just to keep extending this thing, and that's the frustrating bit. You keep dropping rings. Just swap the cards, okay. PCI slots would be the thing that came to mind free. Not all PCI slots are the same, of course. You've got the number of lanes. So you may have picked a slot which didn't have sufficient lanes available to it. And sometimes they're not adjacent slots because on some PC chassis, and I know yours isn't a true PC chassis, but on some PC chassis they don't put the GP. They intend the GPU lanes, GPU to be not in adjacent slots because cards are too wide. Generally speaking, these days are 2 card slots wide, so they put the max lanes not in adjacent PCI slots but in one away from each other. If I got that the right way, I think so. Oh, you just swapped them over. Okay, could still be the same thing. You know, like an 8 lane card in a 4 lane slot and a 4 lane card in an 8 lane slot. So they weren't using. Or it could just be the initialization order, because they will initialize according to slot order, and so one injects its stuff before the other. Either way, glad it's working. Oh, that's where that ring went. And a green one on there. There's one thing about working with large rings like this, is it grows relatively quickly. Yeah, that is right. Close this ring up. It kind of doesn't feel, it feels like I've done something wrong. I think it's probably just my imagination, but yeah, I have. Something wrong with that that one there. The green ring is probably the wrong way around. Yeah, I suppose I could have left that on there. Right, so got that way. Yeah, then you got to get. Is it that way or is it that way? I don't know. This last ring, it can either go that way, it can either go that way, or it can only go that way. What am I on about? There's something odd about the way in which it can go. It only seems to want to go one way, so I obviously threaded something wrong. Aye, okay. See you later, 3D. Thanks for dropping in. I think I prefer the 4-in-1. The 4-in-1's a bit easier to work out. That isn't closed properly. Come on, Zarragan, close it properly. There we go. I'm just going to carry on. It kind of doesn't feel right, and I don't know why it doesn't feel right. It's weird. I think it may well be it is right. There's just something with me that's making it feel a little bit off. See, now I've gone quiet. I'm concentrating on this, and you guys, of course, are really quiet on stream, concentrating on whatever it is you're doing. And I tend to forget you're there when that happens, and I just start getting on with it, and even forgetting to make any sorts of comments at all. I've got 3 more rings currently put out for these purple. I obviously can't, well, I was going to say can't count, but I think that because I put 3 on at the start of the green, even though I know I only needed 2, but I was following the diagram at that point. I'm probably just out of step. but I do need another green, two green ones closed, so we'll just close two green ones. These larger rings, you still can't, despite the fact that if this was a reel of wire, I could quite easily bend it. I can't actually bend these by hand. Actually, I'll just show you this, if I can show you it on the camera. Let me zoom this in. I just want to show you something on this camera. I'm going to zoom right in and find the focus. What I was going to do is just show you that this is, I've just closed this ring up, sorry, I've just bent this ring. That's how fine the saw is that's used to cut these. Don't know if you can see the gap between those. There is a very tiny, minute gap. You might just be able to sit there. The saw that they use to cut them is that wide, because that is actually the bit of metal that's missing is the width of the saw. All I've done is just twist it into position. I've not actually closed that gap up, but that's how tiny the saw is. And as you can see, you get a slightly silver edge. Well, a minute ago you saw it. There's a slightly silver edge there rather than green. Which is why one of the reasons for closing it up is that you don't see that silver. Right, I will just back the camera off a little bit more now. And readjust the focus to about there. Right, let's see if I can put 1, 2. So closing the gap is really just holding on to it, twisting it backwards and forwards a couple of times, which helps reset the memory, but pushing in like that, if you like. So I go from about here, I'm exaggerating, when the two ends are not alongside each other, and then you've got to ease it back out and then just align it, and it sort of holds it's like a spring holding the two ends together. It's a Felix that's around, and he's sat at the other side. He might just appear. No, it's not a good idea, Felix. If I pick him up, he's going to complain, but he's going to appear on stream. No, leave the rings alone. They're mine, not yours. So there you get. You've got a Felix pussycat. You can't sleep there. I know he's probably looking to want to lay right here, but you're not going to do it. Not just yet. That's a microphone. You can meow into that if you like, and anybody that's wearing a headset will be deafened. Go on, have a go. Meow. You're going to say meow? No, you're not, are you? You're not going to talk at all. He's wondering what to do, and he's going to go back. He's going off. Sorry about that. Well, he had a visit, so, but he didn't stay. He probably now, I think, will probably go and lay it on top of the computer. Okay, now then, how the heck was I doing this? That way. That way, that's it. Indeed, Felix, let go chain. That magnet. Felix is awesome. He's very independent, but he's awesome. That way through there. Go on, that's it. I've only, come on. I've only got this purple ring to put through. And that green one to put on there. Junior's awesome as well. All kitty cats are awesome. There we go. Right. Interesting, interesting. I think it's just the final one, that's why it's doing it. Okay. So that's coming together now. So that's, I've put it away, didn't I? Yeah, I knew I would. So this is a big version of that. And whilst you possibly can't see it there, there is a slight variation in the blue, or the purple. I said blue, it's purple. This purple is a little, this is a richer purple than that. The two greens are about the same, but there's a slight difference in the purples, which you probably can see as sort of a slight difference in blues on the screen. It's weird, those green look gold on the camera. It's green here. I guess just the way they're reflecting the light. So there we go. So I just wanted to make a bigger version of Wimbledon wishes. So bigger wishes, small wishes, big wishes. Anyway, guys, it's nearly 10:10. That will be it for tonight. So we started a Half Persian 3-in-1 when I got it started. That's rapidly progressing. I'm just wondering if I think I've got a clasp spare. If not, I'll do it without a clasp. So we've got a Half Persian 3-in-1 progressing quite nicely there. Now that I've got it started. Why does that one? There is a mistake in there. I have just spotted it. This ring, or this ring, one of these two rings is in the wrong position. I don't know if you can sort of see it. They all should be like a herringbone. That one is out of position, or they should be in opposite positions. So I shall have to correct that. I might do that off stream, or I might do that tomorrow, but I'll need to correct that because it makes the whole thing sit slightly wrong. But I shall fix that later. So what we did do tonight, however, was complete this one. A really beautiful Swarovski crystal bracelet, 7.5 inches long, using beautiful green and silver, or green and white sparkly crystals, held together with silvered or silver coloured aluminium rings. Which will then form a bracelet, and if I can do it with my fingers in the way, and then it fastens like that, magnetic clasp, and there we have the bracelet. The light's a little bit bright, I think, making everything reflect a bit too much for you to see the green. It's a beautiful sort of emerald green. Okay, anyway, that's it for this evening. Thank you all for watching. If there is anybody watching who isn't following, I would of course appreciate you doing so. That would be fantastic, but you don't have to if you don't want. If you'd just like to be notified when I go live, I do tweet. A tweet goes out when I go live, not when I have my breakfast. That's becoming a channel joke, isn't it? So yeah, basically what I mean is it will be stream or app related. If you get a tweet from me, it's not a trivial tweet. Oh, I don't think it's a trivial tweet anyway. If you'd just like to try and catch me on my next stream, which will be tomorrow evening at 8 PM UK time, 1900 hours GMT, or approximately 2 hours 10 minutes ago was 8 o'clock, that time tomorrow. Thank you all, it's been great, have fun, see you tomorrow, bye bye.